you don't follow me over on Jono, that's fine. That's more the business side of what I do. And, the Jono Canute channel is the OG from years and years and years of streaming on YouTube, and that is what it is at this point. So wherever you show up, welcome to the show, and appreciate that. This morning I was actually thinking through a workflow issue that I have at the soundstage, and I thought it would make a good topic for to chat with you guys on here. And I don't know if anybody has any experience with this or not, but if you do or you don't, you're always welcome to the conversation. Inside, so I converted over to Companion a long time ago and was using BitFocus Companion to run my Stream Deck and run my X keys and a bunch of things. Well, I since then remembered finding I ran across, with the announcement of Elgato's new 1U panel, push button for production studios, which I think is sweet, just a little expensive. I started monkeying around with BitFocus buttons, which is basically a pretty version, a paid version of Companion, but it's specifically designed to make everything look uniform, but also to get rid of the kind of 8-bit feel that Companion is, which is totally fine. It works for the mass majority of people. But I really like buttons, mostly for the integration and the professional look that I get with Stream Deck. And so I have a Stream Deck here and I have a Stream Deck over at the soundstage, and both of them are now color coordinated and highly customizable, really fast to edit. I have an XKey64 over there as well, which is my main production switching unit that I use. And you get a lot more buttons, per se, than you do with a Stream Deck for the same price on an X Keys. However, it's not quite as pretty, and the older versions were just red and blue, so you can't quickly change labels. I actually have to print labels on that unit. It's not a little digital display, whereas the Stream Deck is kind of nice for that. And, Stream Deck now make modules, and so if for some reason I were to maybe invest in a 3D printer, I would be able to get a couple of those 30 modules, print an appropriate housing for it, and then have 60 buttons that are all customizable that you can really make look pretty. So that is maybe the future, but right now the X Keys is serving us, and I like it. I think it works really well. I've actually oversimplified it. I used to have a lot of buttons that did a whole lot of nothing, and now I've deleted a lot of those and remapped those, and I can easily go through that later on in the show if anybody's interested in that, about how we do our production switcher. I do recommend getting an X Keys and not getting a Blackmagic, like a TV studio type of thing, mostly because we had one, and I find that it is a lot of wasted space. And I would much rather get a X Keys 80, X Keys 64, X Keys something that you can customize all the buttons and really make use of all of them. Whereas, these control panels are great, but they're kind of designed for everybody, which means that the majority of the buttons you're not going to use. You're going to use about 6 buttons out of the 600 that are on there, which is what I found. I found that it was just wasted space. Hey, over on Keystone, I do see you over here, Randy. Hey, doing my part to increase the engagement on your new channel. Man, I really appreciate that. I can't bring that in just yet into vMix, but we'll get on it. Maybe I'll send in a support ticket with vMix and say, hey, is there a way I stream to multiple YouTube channels at the same time? One for business, one for pleasure. Is there a way to integrate 2 YouTube channels into socials and maybe put that on the docket for them to take a look at? Anyway, onward and upward. My integration, that I like Stream Decks because they're quick to change labels. They're just a little bit limited in their real estate space. But if you don't need a ton of buttons all available at once, you can utilize things like pages, or in my instance, location movements, and just move it around the button sheet with the click of a button. And so I'm saying button a lot here. But anyways, it's fairly intuitive, and the way that I've mapped it out in my brain makes sense, and logically I think in buttons makes sense. And it gives you a lot of flexibility in than how many buttons you can create, hundreds in that case. So that it's been really well integrated, and I think it works really well. My volunteers seem to think that it makes total sense, and I can add a button, and explain it to them each week. Okay, look, now we have this function, or this is what this button does or means. In particular, for example, we were doing some pre-recorded stuff, and I had to run some lyrics on the ProPresenter machine that is it's actually adjacent to our video switcher. Well, we were just recording all cameras, and so I set up all the cameras and was going to run basically ProPresenter to run our lyrics while we did this recording stuff, because it was just a skeleton crew. Pre-recorded is usually just full-time technicians, and no camera ops and no ProPresenter people. So I was basically doing everything, which is totally fine. I was planning on that. And what I did was I went into buttons and I was able to create. There's been a recent update, by the way. Let me show you this while I have this open. So in buttons, yoink, save this for now and turn it off because, I know there's an error. Okay, so let's go ahead and I guess I better open vMix and make sure that this screen is the next one. All right, so here we are. This is at the soundstage what we've got for ProPresenter integration. But one of the buttons that you'll see here is ISO recording. And this is really a checks and balance. Two things. It's a checks and balance because I can have my ProPresenter gal make sure that we're recording at the beginning of service. We try and record the lesson, and so make sure that we have that available for social media stuff later. But if that button is black, in this instance, like it is, then we're not recording. But if it's red, under feedback, you go down here, and under feedback, it can change the background to red when it is active. And so when the ATEM is recording, the whole thing turns red. You can just see it. It's pretty obvious, which is a great indication. But one nice thing about buttons and BitFocus, for that matter, is that you can add, under actions, you can load an action, but turn it off. Meaning that when I was at the soundstage and running solo, I can turn this button on, and now the button gives me the feedback, but it also gives me the ability to toggle the recording on or off. So when I press this button, it turns red, and I know we're recording. I was having my sound guy do it, and I thought, you know what, I could make this a lot easier. And now I just have this toggle option. So when it's the full crew, and I'm standing at the desk, and I've got the ATEM right there, and I'm responsible for turning it on, I've got alarms set and everything that go off. You could even automate it based on time. But when I'm there, I push the ATEM record button on Sundays. But when I was there on Wednesday night? Was it last night? No, that was yesterday. We were recording a lesson. Monday night, we were there doing music. On Monday night, when we were there, I was able to just toggle that button on and then sit at this computer with the Stream Deck underneath it, which shows this little screen right here, this little bit. And when they were like, all right, we're ready to go, I hit the record button. It gives me the feedback saying the ATEM did respond, and it reports back that it is recording, which is a beautiful... I don't like, feedback when I press this button, turn it red. That's not good. The feedback should be, tell me that the ATEM has confirmed that it is running in record mode. So that's what that is. And so when the ATEM is recording, these are two separate actions. This toggles the record, but then the feedback is when the ATEM reports that it is recording, then turn it red. And there's a second action here that's basically inverted. It's the same rule, right? It's the same rule, but it's inverted. And so it says, when it's not recording, turn it black. And so that's live feedback. Actually, right now, it's live feedback from the ATEM Extreme telling me whether or not it's recording or not. So good stuff there. So that little feedback feature is really helpful because not only then can I lay out all of the parameters, and I can give feedback to the gal that's running ProPresenter, and she's quite good at it, then she can remind me to, hey, this says that the recording isn't going, and then it'll force me to get it going. Because we want to record all cameras at all times because they're high quality, whereas what we pull down from YouTube is obviously compressed. So there you go. There's sermonette number 1. Okay, let's jump over. I remember playing an old Atari 2600 game called Keystone Capers. That was a fun game. Interesting. I'll have to look that up. I don't know anything about that. Alrighty. So what is it that we're trying to address here today? Because I'm trying to think of a way. Here's the crux of what I want to cover. I'm trying today to figure out how to automate a macro inside ProPresenter. I'll explain this for those of you who aren't familiar with ProPresenter. A macro inside ProPresenter to trigger the ability to turn off a function on the ATEM constellation. Okay, so the constellation 2ME is the device that we use. I use an X keys, and then we use downstream keys to do alpha outputted lower thirds. So lyrics on top of live video, scriptures or name tags or whatever on top of live video. That's the purpose of that function. However, we also run video out of ProPresenter that comes in via SDI into the constellation on its own channel. And when we are bringing that video feed in from the Mac Studio device from ProPresenter, okay, it goes out of that computer from a Deck Link Duo card from Blackmagic. It comes out of that machine via SDI and into the constellation. And so I have cam 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I have Mac Studio. And then I have a backup computer, which is a MacBook Pro. They're both running simultaneous ProPresenter. And when the gal is sending me a video out of ProPresenter, so here's a great use case as to why you might want to do this. We, our congregation, our church, is mostly online, and we have a lot of people submit videos that read scripture or that do a variety of things, send in a greeting or closing prayer or something like that, right? So when we have, in particular, scripture readings come in, somebody will submit us a video of them reading the selected scripture for the week, and I want to superimpose the scriptures on top. And so what I do is we load the video in ProPresenter, and then we load basically what would be considered a playlist or a song underneath it, which is just an extract of those scripture verses, usually one verse per slide. So when the person's reading on screen, we can then go through and trigger each of the slides to show the person, to show what it is they're reading. Okay, so a video is playing, and then lyrics are on top. It's scriptures, but lyrics are on top. That's the way you think about it in ProPresenter. So as we have them submitted, we do this almost every week. Every week we have multiple videos from people that attend online or follow us later in the week or whatever, submit so that they can participate in the Sunday morning service. So that's the premise. A common problem, though, that I have as a production guy is if I leave the downstream key on while the video and the lyrics are going at the same time, it regularly copies and pastes two sizes of video on top of each other. And you don't notice it until usually the very end. And then there's this mad scramble of like, oh no, what's going on? So what I want to do is I'm very forgetful when it comes to turning off the lower thirds. I don't have, I need to either put it in my technical script as a manual process, or maybe both, a manual process to turn it off, or I need to automate it somehow in ProPresenter. And so ProPresenter, when it fires, for example, the video of the person reading, I want to add a macro to that slide, which would turn off the lower thirds on the ATEM. That's the workflow. So Then all I got to do is build it each week and say, okay, I want to turn off ATM, turn off the downstream key. And then it will automate itself. Now, I need to also be better about manually remembering to turn it off, but I want a system in place that is like a backup, is a checks and balance, right? Because then we screw things up a lot less. So that is that's what I'm looking for. And I think workflows can help inside of Companion. So we'll go ahead and take a look at this real quick and we can walk through it together. So here's the splash screen. Workflows are a Swiss Army knife of the platform. They're used to create logic, automate actions, and react to events. It works by declaratively defining the flow of data through nodes. You can use variables, actions, and feedbacks from connections and interact with them. You can create your own custom and user variables by adding the workflow variable node and store some value in it. It's reached from any position as well. Use the utility nodes to create advanced logic, conditions, and custom workflows. So basically saying any connection that you have inside of BitFocus Companion, or buttons in my case, any action that's happening in a connection can trigger a action in another. All right, that's the way I read that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm open to being. Let me just jump over here and pull the chat, so as you guys are talking, I can be sure to follow along as well. Okay, so yoink. What I want to do is I want to clear lower thirds on ATEM via a macro, and so far I have created the action that I want. I want execute this event, downstream key, toggle off, and I want it to be key number 2 because key 2 is the studio, key 1 is the MacBook Pro. And maybe I want it to be for both, I don't know. Okay, so here, I threw this in here, but my question is, what is the workflow that I need to figure out here? Is it an event? Events are preceded individually and can be used to trigger actions at a specific point in time. They accept both values and other events, and when the value is connected, it will respond whether the value is changed. So the yellow dot here, okay, is an event. The white dot is a value. This is just a legend. Values are the main way, it's probably hard to read this, the main way of connecting nodes. It provides a deterministic way of dealing with conditions and logic. So you can use utility nodes to alter them and chain them together to create reactive behaviors. So, okay. So now we need to probably go to connections, use a variable from a connection. So is that what I want? Yeah, probably, right? So connection, I want this to be the ProPresenter API, which is online. And there are a bajillion of them. Oh my goodness. And I can't see them all because they're running off. So if I type in trigger, if I type in macro, no. The macro is called, I guess I have it here. Let's just take a quick little peek at it. Turn off lower thirds on ATEM. I don't know what all these are. Like you can't even, oh, timers. Oh, that's cool. Ooh. Oh, this is slick. You could trigger all the lighting and everything. Oh, whoa. Whoa. Oh boy. All right. Okay. Well, let's yowzes. Okay. So the problem here is I want to find, Like here, if I click macro, do I get any macro names? No. So I don't think that this is the one that I'm looking for. These are not the droids I'm looking for. Let me go here. Whoops. Sorry. All right. So the next connection feedback registers a feedback, outputs true or false. All right. So the connection feedback. Let's try this one. Layer, screen, prop, active capture, macro? No. Okay, so current state? All right, I don't think that's it either, actually. Connection action. Oh, but this is on the wrong side. Execute on change. API. Macro trigger. Macro lower thirds. Macro ID. Interesting. What's the ID? How do I find that? Edit, add action. Edit action. Whoops. Well, this is interesting. Edit action. See, I have it set as a MIDI note, but I guess I don't really need it to be a MIDI note. So let's remove that. Remove MIDI note. And how do I find its ID? I don't understand. There's no like info, like it's just kind of blank, which is not very helpful. So here. Oh, no, that's not helpful either. On this event, can I tie these together? Nope. Sure can't. Connection. Oh, it's still... No? Is that it? Nope. So I want to, I want to like when this macro gets pressed, then I want to do this, if this, then that. So switch between different values, incoming events, connection value, action, and feedback. Register a feedback on a connection. I feel like it's got to be one of these because, see, the state can be linked. Yeah. So active capture, transport playing, prop active. Why not macro? Why isn't macro on there? Layer? Oh. Audience stage. Okay, cool. All right, maybe I should look at these options and see if it's listed in here, right? Stage ID, multi-viewer. Okay, cool. Not stage layouts, but still, this is good. I feel like it should be. I can make it a prop, I guess. Transport playing. Nope. Timer state. Nope. Oh, that's so cool. Active capture state. Okay, so it's not this, but now I think I understand better. So variable, connection variable, name platform. Okay, so this is all. Yeah, it's weird that it doesn't. Okay, so maybe I'm thinking about this in the wrong way. And instead, can I add a prop to a slide? Which I probably could. So if I go here and I say scripture, this is this week's, and I want to put it here. If I drop a prop on this, yeah, it does. Okay, so the prop runs. Okay. So we could use a prop instead, allegedly. So if we say new prop, and this is turn off L3 ATEM. All right. And I'm going to add this prop here. Whoops, and I need to remove the other one. Remove Slido prop. Okay. Now, head on over to, what did I say? Feedback? Is that where prop was? API. Oh, what's going on, Angus? Good morning. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out. Prop is active. Specify prop ID below. Boo, you should be able to find it. Again, how do I know what the prop's name is? You know, like prop ID, is that what this is? Is there an info tab? I mean, this is the ID, so, but probably not, right? Is it here? 8? Number 8. You'd hate, I hope it would be words and not. All right. So now the question is, if lower thirds is on, let's go ahead and save. All right, watch. Oh boy. All right, we're going to have to go again, I think. I will not bore you with this part. Booths. All right. So we can watch this happen. By watching the lower thirds on the actual ATEM. So this is the ATEM that we have. It's running all of our stuff. Downstream key on air. So that is the one that we're trying to take off, right? So now if I go here and I say prop, I'm sorry. Where are we at? Here we go. So let's just see if this works. If I trigger this prop, whoops. Downstream key did not turn off. Let's check our logic real quick. Nope, not there. Check our logic real quick. Here it is. So it's probably the ID, honestly, because I probably butchered that real bad. Connect, workflows. Oh, because it's off. Well, there you go. Hey, we can't all be operating at 100%. Okay, so you can't see this, but I'm going to clear prop. I'm going to fire it again. It did not turn off. So it's got to be the ID. Okay, so we're going to go back to workflow. Your sink is about a day and a half out. Uh-oh. I didn't even look. Time of day. Wait, say that again. This is correct. What sink? What are you talking about? Clarify. All right, so let's go back to the workflow real quick because I'm sure that we have butchered the prop ID, and now let's just put in here 8. Oh, cool. It tells me the state of the prop. Okay. So clear and go. Oh, interesting. Or is it state false? Like meaning when it's false. I'll put this down here. It should be true right now because it's currently on. Your mouth and voice are not happening at the same time. Alrighty. Let's have a look. And a listen. Oh, it's in perfect sync on your laptop. Why isn't my audio working here? Can we mute this somehow? Oh boy. Okay. My TV is way out of sync. You may have to restart the TV then if that is... There we go. I don't know what's going on. I'm sent. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what to tell you about the TV. That's one thing I don't actually. I don't troubleshoot regularly. Bizarre. Desktop is really good here. Yay! What's going on, Nick? How are you? Good to see you. My TV, it's way out. That's wild. Okay, so let's keep wandering through this API real quick because, we're just attempting this here, but we're gonna see this prop is currently active, and so now it's not. If I fire it again, so I'm not too sure what they mean by ID, just because it doesn't really have an ID, and there's nothing here that says this is what the prop ID is. So maybe I've got to look on... okay, I exit on the TV and now I reopened. We're all good. Excellent. Okay, phew. Crisis averted. I wouldn't want to be out of sync on your television, that's for sure. All right. So, yes, I've got to like look on the back end of this somehow and find out what the prop ID, like what the naming convention is. Because here is the one that I want to know more about, but doesn't really tell me anything, right? And you could clear this after 5 seconds. It just has to go. It doesn't need to stay up. But if I press it, okay, now it should auto off on its own. Yoink. Yep. So that's easy. So then if we run this one, Bueller. Whoops. What's the story here? It's keeping the old one perhaps. Okay, let's run this again. Prop should go away on its own, which is what I want. I want it to go behind the scenes. Okay, it's not going away on its own. Ugh, I don't like that. All right, whatevs. Let's keep rolling because we'll have to figure that out. Hey, yeah, that's really strange. I had an issue yesterday with a YouTube stream where the PC kept running out of memory. I wonder if there is a bug in this release. Indeed, there might be. There might be. So still kind of dumbfounded with like I need to services? No. I want to see more of the, like the prop. If it's going to ask me to specify the prop ID, where do I find it? I guess I can stop asking myself. Pro presenter prop ID. The prop ID is a unique identifier assigned to each within the collection, allowing the system to reference this for a specific within the API. There's an ID used when interfacing. For example, the fetch method in props class actions accepts a fetch ID parameter which corresponds with a specific ID. Prop collections can be organized and managed, enabling features like auto clearing. All right, so let's ask a follow-up question. How do I find the ID? In ProPresenter, the prop ID interface, yada yada, for users working directly, the prop ID may not be visible by default, but one can identify it through the prop's properties or settings panel, especially when managing props with collections. What? So let's go back. Props. Boy, I wish that... stupid thing. Default collection. Auto clear after 5. Edit transitions. Duplicate rename. This ID is automatically assigned by ProPresenter and can be retrieved by listing all props via the fetch all method, which returns a collection. How do I do that? It says it's in the API, so ask a follow-up question. Okay. To run the fetch all command in ProPresenter, use the ProPresenter's API via compatible integration or script. My gosh. There's just no way to see it on the interface? Come on, man. That's garbage. Which, though, makes me wonder. If that variable then isn't listed here. Audio later, like these. This has got, these are the timers. Prop. Announcement, presentation layer. Media. It's a little annoying. I can't see the whole value, guys. Like, can we make this big? No. I want to make it bigger. Bueller. Because that would be really helpful to be able to see the entire value. If I type in the phrase prop, layer media name, man, that's annoying. Whoops. ProPresenter API. Ooh. Oh, heyo. Save, connection, API, variables, prop. Whoop, that's not how you spell prop. Prop. Really? presentation layer. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see prop and prop ID. Feedback. Okay, so now we've got to go here, here, create a button, add feedback, prop, API, active prop. Active prop. Oh, you got to set it manually. There we go. Renewed Vision API. Good golly. Playlist. Timer. It's got to be here. How is the API not listed? My goodness. ATEM, Renewed Vision. Look and countdown. Oh man, brutal. I thought that it would list it at the very least under connections. Don't save that. Here, API variables, right? And then it would tell me, okay, here are your current variables for your prop ID. You know, here's the variable. It should list it. ID name. Nope. It's not here somehow. Boy, that's bizarre. All right. So if we say, let's see if we can, well, feedback. Active prop. Prop active. Stop. Get off my screen. All right. API. Oh my gosh. Toggle variable mode. It takes me back here to be like, why don't you put in the variable ID? Ugh. Boy, that's frustrating. All right. Am I overcomplicating this somehow? Don't save. Am I, like, if we go to workflows, let's think about this differently. If I'm able to okay, what I could do instead of this, I could create a macro that does something benign. You know, there could play a MIDI note. The other thing is like, what about, like we tried to search through the macro option. So when this macro is active or when this macro is pressed, but macros seem to be a trigger, not a feedback function, which is really stupid because layer. Oh, look. Can I specify a prop? Yeah, then you need the ID. Hey, Google says that in the browser, go to the ProPresenter IP and port, and you should be able to do a get v1 prop. Google says in the browser and the port. What's the port we're using? Settings, network 1025. All right, I'll give anything a go. So in the browser, go to the ProPresenter IP. Oh no, this is a 10.110.213. I can't remember. 1025. Paste. Nope. Sorry, hang on one second. I don't think that's accurate here. 42. Okay. So 1.10.42 1025. And then what? Do a get v1 props? Hang on. Is it just HTTP? Is that what I'm missing? Yeah. Yoink. All right, we're going to do this instead on terminal. Hang on. I'm all like turned around here. Oh my goodness. All right. Ow. Yeah. Just try the base IP and see what comes up. Whoops. No directory has been found. Yeah, let me see if there's like a specific. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ugh, for crying out loud. Okay, let's try this again. I know this is riveting stuff, guys. Watching me type. Whoa. What did we get here? Okay, so here are the IDs. Info, name, Dave, prayer, name, safe harbor, auto clear, UID, logo. The next one should be, oh my goodness, is active, false, UID, Slido. Wait, where's the one I just made? UID add info, UID Patrick, auto clear enabled, UID name Dave, false, UID prayer, UID live at safe harbors active, but then UID logo and UID Slido, but it doesn't actually show the one that I made. Oh my gosh. Did I delete that prop? Is that what I did? Oh! ATEM L3 clear. Go again. ATEM L3. There it is. UID right there. ID index number is 7. Noted. Well, that was fun. So, prop ID is this. Current state is false. So, no, it was true. Current state was true. Triggered. Current state is false. So that's not right. So this, 7. Nope. It's not firing. So let's go back. UUID is this name ATEM3 index is 7. Is active equals true. Auto clear enabled. False. Auto clear. Okay, so here, ID. The ID is technically this, right? Let's try this one more time. State is false. The other thing I found was the index number starts at 0. So if it's prop 8, then it would make sense that the index is 7. Yeah, that sounds like programming language, right? The prop ID is 7. Power cycle that. Power cycle this whole thing. All right, false. If we say paste, power cycle this whole thing. False. So neither of those. Manually specify prop ID below. Is there anything that could help me with that? Why doesn't it just say, why doesn't it just list the why wouldn't it just list them, right? Unless that feature is basically broken. Because transport layer specific, is it, do we not put the dashes in because nope, that's not it. Oh man, see this, how it says ID. And then ID is what follows. Which is all of this. The ID's name is that, technically. Paste. Boy, it is pouring rain outside. You can squeeze windows so that you can see the workflow and toggle on top. You change it back and forth, yeah. The question really, though, is this needs to say true in order for us to indicate that we have actually, so it's on, like that one is currently is on. So if we go to our terminal page here, and yes, I hear you, we should do this so that we can see everything. So if we do this again, look, layer 3, index 7, which maybe it's supposed to be like prop ID 7. What is the magic formula of ProPresenter? You know, because it's not this. It is currently active. True. Auto clear is not enabled. Is it this whole string? Certainly not. You would think everything after ID, right? You would think that would be it. But alas, it is not. Or at least everything before everything within this bracket. So where does that bracket end? Right here. Copy. Paste. Come on, man. It should be easier than this. It should be easier than this. What is the other one that we had in here? Connection variable. So connection purpose center API. Oh no, it's not going to be listed here. Variable. No. Delete. The other one is connection action. The trigger event handle can be used to trigger the action only on specific events. When the enable trigger is changed, on change is enabled. The execute on change. Say that again. When the enable trigger on change is enabled, the action will be triggered when the value of a foreign state changes. This is nice to always keep the action in sync with a foreign state, but might not be what you want. Action prop operation show ATEM clear. Oh no! Don't make me put the ID in. Come on, man. Can I just use this? This is so confusing. See, unfortunately, you need this button here to then join here, right? So there isn't one on that side of the workflow to actually show you doing it. This is the ID. I wish, like, if you put that in, then it would say, oh, yeah, okay, now you can. So when this action happens, do this action. Right? Right. But instead, it's requiring this thing, which if I put in the ID, it remains false, but it is currently true. Which leads me to believe that maybe that is not the proper ID. Whoops. Yeah. Still listed as false. I feel like I'm so stinking close. Right? Let's delete this one. If I run this here, then do this event. Is there like a test button? Talk about brain melting levels of frustration. Okay, I'm glad I'm just like, you guys aren't just sitting there like, oh man, John's an idiot. I'm glad that somebody else is, because like I want to use a macro, but macros don't show up as, they show up as actions. They don't show up as variables. Okay, so I can't do that. So then I have to use a prop, which is fine. And it could just be a blank prop. It's totally fine. But it has to specify what the prop ID is, and ProPresenter doesn't actually list those anywhere, not to my knowledge. Hang on. Let me go V1 clear capture macros. There is a list here. Presentation. Get prop. Ooh. Here we go. Prop. Let me just make this a little bigger so we can see what we're doing here. No. Why? Whoops. Why do I keep hitting S? Oh my gosh. Good golly. The prop ID match prop ID with ID string. The ID of the prop, either UUID, the name, or the index. Okay, so the only other thing that I haven't tried is the name. Right? Certainly not. That's not what it meant, right? No. So then the other options are the index, which is 7, or the UUID, which is this right here, which we've already tried. That's what it says. It's literally on the Open API ProPresenter website. It says if you're looking for the IDs of the prop, match the prop by the UUID, the name, or the index. Here are the responses that you'll get. So this I don't think is working right, because I have now exhausted all 3 options. So that, and why, and actually I suspect it's not working because it shouldn't be manually specify the ID below. It should be able to query the props that are already in there. So I bet any money that's not integrated. I'm betting. All right. So then the next question is, how do we do this? So the prop's not going to work. So we're going to delete that. We have concluded that. I have a macro, and that macro can trigger any action. The question is, do we want to do something like trigger a MIDI file, right? So we'll save this for the time being. There are generic MIDI. I really just want like a MIDI listener, right? Just listen for MIDI tones, because you can output MIDI inside of ProPresenter, and then that can trigger things to, be listening. If you're listening, that would trigger it. However, it appears that may not be an option here. Internal. What do we have for internal feedback? Routes that, no, none of that. Okay, so we've got to figure out another like quiet way to trigger this via slide. What is this? Prop, remove prop. So and it's got to be fairly repeatable. Like it's got to be. Now what I like about the macros, you just do this, and then it's enabled. So when I fire this, the macro goes off, right? That's what I like about using a macro. So feedback. What was the other one that we said no, that's not it? Variable. So if I were to go to not props, but macros, stage, status, themes, timers, transports, triggers, video. Oh, they're alphabetized. So M is going to be up here. Macros. Variables. Macro IDs. All right, so instead of on this here, instead of props, macros. So here we're going to copy this one. Is there any nothing in there that will do that? Prop active look, manually specify below. It's not a look, it's a macro. Delete. Whoa, what is going on there? Delete. Okay, so connection, search for, no. Utility, API, available on paid panels. Internal, no. Workflow, connection. No, that would be trigger this macro. Action. Gosh, so maddening. What is it that I'm missing, guys? Feels like the integration is about half written. It needs to have a way to pull the prop ID list and present it on the drop-down list. But index is never a safe way to trigger something remotely. Yeah, like it should be able to identify it and that be that, right? Turn off lower thirds on ATEM is the macro. Macro ID. Why would I need that? All right, so when this event happens, do this event? No. It's got to be on this side. Okay, so maybe I'm approaching this the wrong way, because Workflow, connections, workflow variable. Nope. Internal feedback, register an internal feedback, execute an internal action. Register a feedback on a connection, output true or false. That is the plan. That's what I need. Yes, it does feel half written. This is so stupid. In my brain, I was like, oh, I guess I could do that. Stage message screens, layers, macro. No, there's not a macro layer. Transport playing. Why isn't it here? I don't understand. Active look. No. Prop is active. No. Why? No. Yeah, this is so stinking annoying. None of these are going to work. So feedback fails. All right, here's one way. This is so stupid that you could do this. Connection feedback. You could say timer state is on. So this is so dumb. So timer, you could say new timer, L3 timer, countdown timer, duration is like 10 seconds. And then the macro could start timer. So dumb. Select timer, L3 timer, start it. Set configuration, countdown timer. So then, I just want to, okay, so timer state is, do I have to reload the connection here? Yeah, go ahead and save. Recycle the API, workflow, timer, L3 timer. Stop. You don't need the timer ID. Timer is running, is true, then go. Apply. Oh my gosh. So then, all right, that's already on there. So let's go to countdowns, make sure it's not running. Okay, currently not running. So if I hit scripture now, macro, did it turn off my lower thirds? No. All right. So let's do this. Yoink, yoink. Okay. So the timer ran. Let's go back to our workflow. All right. So then this line probably needs to go to, can I break this? Oh, you can do multiples? Oh dear. Stop it. Can I delete this? Yeah, okay. So if the state is true, then hang on. Set on air. If the state is true, execute on change. What is going on there? Okay, apply. I thought this was maybe going to be a little bit more like intuitive, but okay, fire. Nope, on air stayed on. So it did not do, it didn't, the workflow didn't actually do its thing. So let's delete this. And go back to ProPresenter. And let's, whoa. Still didn't turn it off. Do I have to, I don't have to hit apply every time, do I? Oh, geez. Okay, but it's still not turning it off. Set on air, key on air to off, key 2. State is false. State is true. So it should execute. What the? Oh boy. State is true. Let's see when the timer stops. Right? It's a 10-second timer. So it should stop. And this should change to false, right? Maybe not. Nope. Timer's done. Oh boy. Okay, well, it was a bogus way of doing this, so I won't be too upset because I don't like starting a timer to trigger a thing to blah, 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 blah. That's silly. Oh, what does this say? Oh, the timer's gone. Yeah, that's right. All right, so remove the timer. What else do I got here? Action. Well, we know the prop isn't going to work. Stage, audience, look. Nope. My goodness. Let's rename L3 off ATEM. Or maybe rename. I'm just curious. You know what? I'm also a little bit curious if the prop needed to be named something specific, you know? L3 off ATEM. Curious about that. So if we go props, and I use the name with the underscores, you know, maybe that was the, one can hope. Delete this. Feedback. Connection API. Props are active. Active ID. Paste and match. Specify. What's going on here? Come on. Oh, it's like, it's not showing anything. Apply. Workflow has been saved. It's not saying true or false. It's saying nothing. Lower thirds, constant. Okay. Oh, because it's off. That's why. What? Why? Why is this crapping out now? Active prop. List it. Number 7. Or list the ID. Interesting. It's like a completely different problem. API. The feedback is prop is active. Manually specify, and the text is this. And then connection, save, workflow, constellation, true. Yo. Oh my goodness. Was it the... That doesn't surprise me though. And now if I clear this and go back. Uh-oh. It's not active anymore, dude. Prop is cleared. Oh my word. Now it's true all the time. Apply. And wow, this is crazy. So prop is clear, fire prop. It states that it's true. Did it clear the... Oops, wrong one. It did not. So do I get an issue here? ATEM. I don't know. I don't understand why that's doing that. This is a event. Events are preceded... Execute on change. Apply. Did not execute. Well, this is not fun. This is not a very robust system. It definitely is lacking some serious integration with the workflows piece. Is definitely lacking some serious integration because it should definitely be pretty straightforward to if this then that, the crap out of this thing. This is not a good workflow. It almost let's save this. I'm going to go workflows and turn this off because I'm sure that's just going to create issues. And instead, yeah, go ahead and save. Instead of that, I wonder if there's not a there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. When a macro is sent, when a macro is pressed in ProPresenter, it turns off the ATEM. And it's got to be in here somewhere. I wonder if there's an internal queue that could watch feedbacks, actions, that when this feedback happens, not press, feedback macro, stage message timer screen prop. When a prop is active, which prop? Manually set the text to this atem off. So it's currently active, right? If I clear it, then add feedback. Manually select a prop and then duplicate this and say context background black. Oh, not context background, but just both black is fine. State is currently on. Oh. This kind of makes me believe that the API isn't updating. That when you turn on and off a prop, it's not actually updating correctly. So on, and then clear prop, still on. That makes me think that this thing is busted. All right, so maybe it's appropriate, like the API. Okay, so if you remember from last show, we had a complaint that ProPresenter just went ahead and canceled support for the ProPresenter module and pushed everybody to the API module, which I understand why you would want to do that. However, you're going to want to make sure that everything's working before you do that, because if you don't, then this is going to suck. So perhaps, see, the macro works so well because it's like when this it's basically a button, right? So when this macro button is pressed, and you can then assign it to slides, and so then it's like an automatic press. When that happens, do this. So, but there's no way for ProPresenter to indicate that. There's no way for ProPresenter to indicate that a macro has been pressed. The question I guess I have here is, can we create a button? Can we create a button in ProPresenter that's a feedback button that gives me info on a macro? API, screen prop active, layers, stage message, stage layouts, transport playing, and timer states. So when the macro gets pressed, there was a timer that would run. And then the logic would be when the timer is running. Yeah, when the timer is running, turn off the yeah. So timer state is, oh shoot, I deleted the timer. So pre-show timer variables, self-parent position. Okay, let's try something else here, okay? I want to give flows like a chance to do something that it says it does. So, pre-show lights dim, create workflow. So the workflow should be when ProPresenter timer state, service timer or is it pre-show countdown, is running, then connection, light key, action, trigger queue, activate all pages. Whoops. Queue name should be 30%. Fade time should be 2 seconds. So then, why do I need the timer ID? If you know the timer name, you should fill that in automatically. Oh, that's so dumb. Because then when the countdown starts, then it would set the stage. So that's a cool idea, but I'm going to bet that it's not going to work. My MacBook Pro actually runs light key, currently off, right? And then if I go to the countdown, pre-show countdown, and I fire this slide, that is this countdown right here. And I'm sorry, pre-show right here. And you'll notice it did not fire the lights to 30%, but we're currently counting down. So more than likely it's because I need the timer ID. Dumb. So let's go here and put timers. Whoops. Timers. There we go. Pre-show countdown. The name is pre-show countdown. Copy. Paste and match style. Of course not. Why would it work? That's crazy talk. All right, so where's the ID? Index 01. You know what? What if I have to do this? Copy. What if it could take any of them? It just needs to specify which one. No. Okay, there's the ID. Pre-show countdown right there. That's it. Why is the state still listed as 0? Good golly. That's so disappointing that it's just not, don't save, it's fine. That it's not easy. Because it really should be. It should be really simple. Where like you press a button and it does a thing. Queue list to edit. Pre-program all your actions with the new queue list. Pre-service. Oh, and then you just press play. Oh, that's fun. All right, well, that's something. Stream Deck. Okay. Well, I'm not going to monkey with that one today, but I will look into that maybe another day. Man, it's just so stinking disappointing that it isn't integrated very well. It definitely appears that suck has happened. Have you reached out to ProPresenter support? It's quite an expensive program, isn't it? They should really be on the ball with this sort of nightmare. I I I don't know. I haven't reached out to them, but I'm not too sure whether or not they have a very robust, back end, because from what I've seen online, it appears to be one guy. But yes, it isn't a cheap program. Um, there really should be, workflows, and I'm saying bad things about workflows, but quite honestly, it's not. It's probably not fair to workflows. They probably work just fine. What I should do here, let's try this. Automate record button. All right, so here's an idea, right? The action that I want is connection ATEM. Oh no, ATEM ISO. And record, stop or start, and toggle on. I want it to auto start, and this should happen. Take routes, rule, connection enabled, surface settings, queue list command. So not that. What about like time? Like just on a timer? I would like to look down and just verify that we're recording instead of, because I have multiple places to do that. Hey, how about as a test, try a state change on another device to trigger an action. So keep ProPretender out of it for now. Agreed. So that's what I'm setting up right now. Let's go here. So ATEM software control. Here we go. We're going to just say test, and what is that, 1218? 1218.25. Okay, cool. So there's the ATEM. That's the recording one. Stop or start. Start. And then here, if their support is bad enough that you're not even going to bother, that's a huge red flag. It's not that I'm not going to. I will bother, but it's again my inner being feels like shouldn't it work? Like certainly somebody has already thought of this. I'm not the first person to do this. Certainly someone else has thought this, but evidently not. And that is kind of bothersome. Connection status, workflow, route status. Okay, so not that. Deleted. Position, API, I can't use that because I don't pay for it. Event switch. Switch between different values based on incoming events, priority stack, math, logic, case switch, static value, counter, delay, interval, event order, scheduler. Set up a schedule. Frequency. Weekly. On Sundays. At the hour. 9. At the minute. 23 seconds. Now that's, yeah, okay. At 0 and 23 past the hour, at 00 and 9, only on Sundays and Mondays. That's not what I asked for. Not at 00. At 9. I see what I did wrong there. At 9:23 on Sunday. Well, that's cool. Is there a way for me to test this function? Apply. And then, is there a way for me to test this function? Am I missing it? Can I pretend like, or maybe I need to just do this? Oh, no. How can I just test? I want to test this button. Anybody see a test button somewhere? In Companion, I'm triggering an on-air light to turn on when Hyperdeck is reporting a recording status. Hey, it should work. And isn't it their responsibility to deliver a product that, quote, works? Nah, that's questionable. What does timestamp mean? Execute event. Is this a test button? Where is the test my workflow button? It's got to be here, right? We gotta have that. There's got to be a test button, right? Certainly, it's not like hope it works. Let's go back to ask companion buttons version 1.4.11. How do I test a workflow? Navigate to the button configuration. Go to buttons. What? No. That did not answer my question. To test a workflow, you can use the built-in testing feature. First, ensure that workflow is configured. Then use the test or run test function, which is typically assembling the top right-hand corner of your workflow builder. Show debug. I guess I could just change the time to like now, right? Custom frequency weekly on Sundays at 9:23. Right? I got that right? Nope, there's no test. Create a second scheduler and set it for today, and then create a second link. Oh, dear lordy. How is there no tester? Right? Right? All right, copy. So, wait. I thought there was a duplicator. Oh, man. All right, schedule. Custom. Daily. What time? Let's say, oh my goodness, it's already 12. 12. Oh, 08. Come on. Oh boy. Apply. All right. We're coming up on the... Got 30 seconds. Pull up our ATEM. See if it turns on. 10 seconds. Oh, snippy snap. So it does work. Workflows. You have been redeemed. Wow. Okay. So we just got to make sure that, yeah, 9:23 on Sundays, weekly. Ooh, that's awesome. That is really cool. All right, so this workflow works. Hey, buttons, if you guys are paying attention, could you put a test function in this so that we can test this without having to do this ridiculousness? I will monitor this for the next several weeks, obviously. And I also have an alarm that goes off on my phone because I was forgetting to set it. I will now change the alarm to just say verify. But on record, yeah, so now I will just put in here verify record on. Boink. And then if I'm not recording, I can hit the button and then sort out the problem later. So that's cool, and that's done, and we're going to roll with it. Okay, so the workflows thing is working. It's really, I think, the ProPresenter API that's struggle bussing. And that is how it happens. So in the event, when we hit this marker at 9:23 each week, do this. So that's pretty simple. That's pretty simple. I really wish I could trigger things based on statuses of things in ProPresenter, because I could automate the crap out of everything, including lights and all of that. It could just be set. But instead, I can't. Now, I could automate things inside here and run ProPresenter as automation. The issue I have with that is when you put all your ducks in one basket, and then that duck needs to be reinstalled one Saturday afternoon, like last week, 2 weeks ago, all that stuff goes away. And I really don't want to monkey with that too much. That's a disaster waiting to happen. So I don't want to do that. I would like to have a centralized place where all the automation happens, and then probably have the ability to export all my data and keep that stored off-site, right? As a good IT guy does. So this is really fascinating. And until ProPresenter gets the API stuff working correctly, and I will submit a ticket about that, because if I could automate based on macro, then I just put the macro on where I want the things to happen. In particular, my lower thirds problem, the whole point of this, if you're joining late, the whole point of this little project was I wanted to have a system, a checks and balance in place that would turn off the downstream key in the ATEM when we were in specific parts of our program. And mostly because we use a lot of video, and if I leave the downstream key on and we're sending lyrics during a video to the screen, so in this instance scriptures, right, while someone's reading via video, and the lower thirds is on, it jacks up the size and everything. It's like a total mess. So I wanted to make sure that when scriptures start, my lower thirds button is always off, and that I choose when it goes up. The other thing about that is I would like almost to put it at the beginning of every slide, because as the video production guy, if I'm showing live video, I don't want to forget that my lower thirds is on. And I want to decide when it is that I show lower thirds. And in particular, we use lower thirds for name tag graphics. We use lower thirds for lyrics. We use lower thirds for scriptures. And I don't want to forget that it's on. So we're on live video, and then my gal thinks that I'm off, but I'm not. And she presses the lyric, and it goes on the screen before I'm ready. I don't want that to happen. I want to decide when everything goes up on the screen. And in theory, you should have one person running ProPresenter, one person running your graphics, your alternate graphics, and a few other people in the mix, but we just don't have endless amounts of people. So that's kind of the limitation where we're at. But I have more resources than most congregations. I'm well aware of that. So I'm not complaining. I'm just stating the obvious. As to we could get more people involved, but we don't have people that are techie where I'm at. So yeah, it's really a bummer that here, I think this should have been, this was a giveaway that we, look at that. Prop ID options. So you should try the ProPresenter remote app to see if everything is working. Even the app should be using the API. Maybe it is a buttons issue rather than ProPresenter. Perhaps. I wonder, so here, see how on feedbacks we have an option to show active prop ID number? So what if we go, let's just humor me one more time. Buttons, feedbacks, feedback, active prop. And then, it wants me to fill in the ID number. Why don't you just show me? Why don't you tell me what movie you want to see? No, so feedback, prop. Oh, can I do this? Search for prop. There's nothing. How? Renewed vision. What did I do? V1 props / ID, like this. Done. Properties, text. Nope. Button, renewed vision. Take this out of here. Let's see. What option I have here? Position. Yeah. V1 props. Whoops. What is this? Lower thirds ATEM constellation. Oh, that's the workflow. Oh, I see. Man. What about active prop or prop name or something? See, there is no API that comes back with prop for feedback. And yet here in the API, don't save. Here in the API, feedback, props, prop active. But then it requires you to know what your ID is. So variables, actions, operation of prop ID, configuration. Do you remember in companion, is that still on here? Oh, it is. Let's just Umer me for a minute. ProPresenter 7. Connections. Refresh module list. All right. Oh, shoot. I hope I didn't screw up this unit. Let's go Surfaces, Stream Deck, forget. Thank you. All right. So here, I'm pretty sure I screwed that up. You can't edit this while it's disabled. Okay, so boink, pages, nope. Yoink, create a button, actions, ProPresenter on Studio. There was a where is it here where it's like basically lists all the variables. Here we go. It's not even here. Go back. Custom internal. Triggers. Modules. All right, so then buttons. Create button. Whoops. Sorry. ProPresenter. Prop. Trigger network link. Oh, interesting. Oh. What about trigger macro? Trigger macro. Connect to ProPresenter 7 to update. Okay, so it's not connected to ProPresenter. Oh, and you know why? Because it's the wrong module. That's why. Because it's supposed to be the API, right? Add stable variables. This will be the same. Oh, this will be the same one. Variables, ProPresenter API. All right, first is prop, nothing. Macro, nothing. So then we go to buttons. We say here, here, here. Macro trigger. Okay, so then in theory, let's just delete this one. So then in theory, event nope. When a prop is active, that's so funny. Well, is this not a little help button? Supports global variables. Okay, so it's looking for an active prop, but the props are not listed in the variables. API timers, look at that. There's the JSON file. That's it. That's all they have. So they don't have the IDs listed. Item playlists. Yeah. They've got to get the John, what's going on? Oh, you can't see our. Oh, geez. I'm so sorry, everybody. All right, so I'm in Companion. Geez. Ugh. My apologies. I'm in Companion and looking through all of the. So this is the API. You know, apparently there's a newer module for this, but this is the old one. Okay, and the old one is outmoded. But I was looking through the variables here to see if there was anything available. Now, unfortunately, because they've broken the connection from this module to ProPresenter, nothing populates anymore. But I was trying to look and see if there was anything basically left over that would lead me on to like something like this. That would at least tell me, well, this is what it's supposed to say. Because over on this one, these are all active, but there's nothing about props and there's nothing about macros. And so here you would think if it said, you know, macro button active, then it would, you know, pull the trigger. But evidently that's not an option. Here it shows the API, the actual JSON file for everything, which is really helpful, but it doesn't show, for example, an example of what ID it's looking for. So if we just scan through here, look, this is the UUID, great, but that doesn't tell me necessarily. So when Companion asks you for the ID of an item, that's what you need to put in, and that's what I'm looking for. You know, image UUID, great, okay. Here, active look, but again, the way that the language is over on buttons is, what is the ID? Well, what is that? Is that the UUID? Are you looking for the identifier, or what is it that? And none of these say that. So it's not a whole lot of help, unfortunately, but we can, I guess, open a ticket. I guess the long answer to this is, I guess we got to open a ticket with ProPresenter and say, hey, what is going on with the API? Is there here config? Maybe we'll jump over to GitHub and see if there's any information here. Issues 25. State is open. Focus playlist. Companion not connecting to ProPresenter. Issues with it. Current slide label. Feedback. Variable active. You know where I know these guys are pretty active is on X, and so maybe I will jump in over there. Where is the computer? I must have closed this. Let me pull this up. Sorry, everybody. Still feel bad about not showing you what it was that I was talking about. Anyways, this is Companion. I'm just going to turn these off because I'm not using it. And then I'm going to shut off Companion because we use buttons in this house. And buttons is here. We're going to launch that again. Stream Deck. And we should be still connected to that device. Position. Yes, it's here. Okay, so man, that's frustrating, to say the least. I do love that I can automate the recording. Now, here's one wrinkle in that plan. I'm going to be there on Sunday for the next foreseeable several Sundays. So this is fine. This is fine. But what the can I shrink this down? Yeah, okay. What I need though is for there to be a check that are we live? Like, are we live in this soundstage? And the way that you could check, the variable that you could check is, are the lights on, the stage lights on? So, connection, light key, feedback. Oh dear. All right, so that's not helpful at all. There are no items for light key there. So let's delete variable, connection, light key. Oh boy. So that really sucks. So, all right, what else? What's another indicator that we're actually on the stage or that we're actually there? Feedback. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that because I'm not quite sure. If light key would be the obvious one, because if the lights are on 30% or 100%, we're there, right? And so go ahead and start recording. But if they're or trigger this unless the stage lights are at 0. That would be a good way to do this. So scheduler, and then workflow, create a variable that can be used in the workflow. It also accessible from a position, lives inside your workflow. Variable key, lights on, apply to edit. What does that mean? Do I have to hover over this? Variable read. Workflow. Automate record button. Okay, I'm really screwing this up now. Delete. All right, well, so what did I learn? Today I learned that this system is not very click around and figure it out yourself situation. I have been able to automate the record button for every Sunday of every month for 9:23 a.m. every week. And as long as Buttons is running, which it should always be running because the studio should always be on, as long as Buttons is running, this should be a this should be a given. So far so good. Pre-show dim lights. Let's go ahead and save. This one will also be a connection action and a internal. No. Where's the utility? Yeah, here, scheduler. But can light key action trigger queue mode activate? Oh. Yeah, okay. All right, this is interesting. All pages. It's page name 1. Q is 30%. Whoops. 30%. Fade time 2 seconds. So this customize every month, nope. I want this to be weekly on Sundays at 9:29. No, that's not right. Nope. 9:23 again. And I want you to execute to this. Because our timer, yeah. So at 9:23, that's when our 5-minute counter starts, because we have a 2-minute delay to YouTube basically. So at 9:23, when the countdown starts and whatever, I want the lights to dim. So now the other question is, does this work? So scheduler custom daily. We're going to do this at 12:37. And we're going to delete this. Pop this open. Turn this on, hit apply. And then I'm going to open my light key Mac, which is here. And we can just wait 2 minutes and see if the lights go on 30%. If they do, then light key works, which means that I should be able to automate the pentagraphs as well. Again, all of this hinges on me figuring out a queue. Are we there? Right? I guess the other option is, if we're not going to be there, I come into workflows and turn them off, for the week. And that just becomes a part of that. I mean, that maybe makes the most logical sense to start. But, all right, 15 seconds. Let's see if our lights go up to 30%. Here you go. Wait for it. 36, and 37, 30%. Hey-oh. Very cool, very cool. All right, so that works. Excellent. Oh, wait. Yeah, here we go. Excellent. All right, so now that that's working. All right, workflows is working. So I got to give it that, Like, I will, let's save. Okay, so it's just the clear lower, it's just the ProPresenter piece. It doesn't seem to be very robust. So I'm going to leave that one off. I don't know why it wants me to constantly save. So pre-show lights dim. That's cool. And that will just make sure, right, that will just make sure that the lights are set correctly each week without anything going on in ProPresenter. So I mean,
That's pretty neat.
I do like it. It's just I started the show incredibly frustrated with how it wasn't working. So there was that. Right? And I started with ProPresenter. I probably should have started with one that I was certain was going to work. The light key stuff is working great. So let's do one more thing here. Pants down. And pants down is going to also be based on a schedule. And this is going to be, can I put these in like a bin? Is there like a way I can organize them so it's just one section? More on that later. So custom, this is weekly. This is on Sundays. And this needs to happen at 9:28. Okay. And then at 9:28, I need a connection action, which is going to be glad you're still with us, Nick. Pants down. Yeah. Actually, I wonder if this trigger should happen on another machine, because that is where the pentagraph is being controlled. So it's being controlled pants down. It's actually being controlled over on a different machine. Where is that computer? Not this one, not that one, not that one. This one. So on this machine, we're running companion because this is running my X keys rig. So if I go here, launch, yoink, here is my buttons for my 64 button X keys. And you may notice that there's already a pants up and a pants down option here. This guy, I'm gonna move this button. I guess I can get rid of the stage message for now because it's not working anyway. So I'm going to delete the stage message, and then I'm going to move this guy here. Then I'm going to copy pants up to there, and I'm going to copy pants down here. And I'm going to remove this automation, yoink, yoink, and this one, yoink, and yoink. There. Okay. This is called pants up and pants down because it's called a pentagraph, and it raises and lowers cam 3 from the ceiling to the floor. I want to set it up where this thing happens automatically, which is right here. And so this at 9:30 every day. So we start, or maybe like 9:29 every day on Sunday. If the ISO is recording, then do this sequence, which is toggle down and go for, I think it's 41 seconds. Pants down. And then condition, event, time of day. If it's a Sunday, and describe the intent. Nah, I can just manually do pants up. But pants down, I want to automate. So on Sunday at 9:29 on Sundays, if I am recording on the ISO, then toggle pants down. And what was my sequence for this here? Pants down is timed at 41 seconds. So trigger pants down automation, pants down 41 seconds, and then toggle pants down again, and that will stop it from going down to the floor. Okay, so that automation now should happen on its own. Hey, in the robot voice from the skiing episode of Futurama. I haven't done much with buttons, but in Companion you can make a button set to an internal value. You might be able to make a button that sets to "we are here" state and then run things based on that. It's true. And the kicker is I really don't want to go back. I've spent a considerable amount of time moving from Companion to buttons, but this trigger was really easy to set up. Just based on time. Do this. So let me make a new alarm, and this alarm is going to be for 9. Oh, I guess I don't want to do that because we'll be underway by then. So I'm just going to have to remember. Here's hoping. So the ISO will kick off on its own, and because the ISO will kick off on its own, then pants down should run on its own. But pants down should not run if we're not recording, right? So the trick will be to turn off this automation if we're not going to be there, which will happen in January for 2 weeks. So, but if this automation doesn't happen, then the pants down doesn't work. So Bob's your uncle. So that's cool. All right, so it's all time-based right now. Yeah, it's all time-based. So maybe what I should do is do a time-based, at least set up a clear function for this, right? So to make sure that we start the show with lower thirds off. So here, weekly, actually let's do right now. Let's see if this is going to work. So we're going to do 12:47 seconds, and in the event, do this event. Hit on and apply. And then we're going to go to the ATEM, which is on that studio machine that that other computer I had open, which is this guy. We're going to watch this ATEM and make sure that in 1 second, do we get the second hand here if we do this? Yep. So we have 50 seconds to go. And if that's the case, then I will turn this into a weekly at the beginning of every week, like at 9:27, clear lower thirds, so that we always start with it off, even if I forget. And that also reminds me that here in buttons, there should be a button and a light. Lower thirds is on right here. Oh, it says number 1. Uh-oh. And switching. Okay, 47. So it did not go. So am I running this on downstream key 1? Certainly not. Downstream key, no, that's the Pro. Key 2. All right, so what did I do? How did I mess this up? Back to this guy. Daily at 12:47. Execute ATEM set on air off key 2. Downstream key set on air to off key 2. Blackmagic ATEM. Key. Yeah. Yep. Now this is the ISO. This is not the right one. I want to go to this one. Okay, this is listed as number 1. But is that correct? That's not right. Connections, ATEM. Yeah. This is on. So if I press this button, it turns that off, and it turns that off. So if I press this on, boom, my button's on. Okay, so it is. Oh, it's running a macro. That's interesting. L3 primary number 1. Maybe that's what I should change it to. So yoink. Whoops, not that one. This guy. L3 run 1. Action run. That may be wrong. ATEM macro 1. Yeah, run and continue is what it says. All right. So, yoink. Run and continue. But I don't want to run it. I want to stop it, right? Macro stop. No. Macro. I'm curious because I needed to check and make sure that it's just turning it off. So if I say downstream key input, key 2. Oh, no, don't do that. Downstream key. It's got to be this. On air, off, key 2. That's it. $51. I'm going to change this. Or whatever. Man. This is very, very confusing yet again. Where's the other screen here? This one. All right. Why are we running a macro for this, I wonder? All right, so we are on air. Right? Oh, wrong ATEM. Right, I said I was going to change the ATEM here. Here we go. Okay, so we're on air. Okay, we can manipulate it here. We are downstream key 2 on the ATEM. So inside of this, clear all these. Run that every minute, I guess. Every time there's a minute changeover, it should run the queue. Okay, so we're 40 seconds out. Every minute on the ATEM, downstream key set on air, which is right here, set on air, downstream key 2, okay, 8 seconds. Oops. 4, 3, 2, 1. What am I getting wrong here, guys? I see here inside of workflows that it was just completed a few seconds ago, which is it says, okay, I did trigger that. So that makes me believe that the ATEM connection thing didn't work. So downstream key. What if we change it to on air? Would it do it then? Okay, 7 seconds. Nothing. Nothing changed. That's what I was going for. What does the word set, what does set tide mean? Do you guys know what that means? Here, look. I'm going to apply this. Set tide. State off to. What is that? Oops. All right. 25 seconds. We'll see if any of these work. Set input, set type of variable, set on air. Those are upstream. Downstream keys. Nothing. Why is that? Okay, well, since this machine, boy, this is so messed up. Okay, let's do this instead. Let's go to companion triggers, add trigger. The trigger name is going to be lower thirds off, service start, lower thirds off. Event, time interval on a specific date and time. Not specific date or time, just time of day. Add a time of day. Okay, at 9:27:00. Actions. Downstream. Set on air. Oh, look, a test button. Set on air. Off air. Key 2. All right. Let's go ahead and, I guess it already saved. And we can just do this little number. Test. Nothing. Well, what do we think is going on there? Oh, is it because the event? Let's turn the event off. No, this just says test actions. That's these. That's because it's selected as ISO. That's why. Test. There it is. Turn it off. Okay. All right, so that one's working. So I'm going to do that. And ungrouped. This is, let's create a collection. And this collection is going to be called timed setup for the services. And then I'm going to add yoink, start services lower thirds off. And how do I put this in this group? Edit? No. Move it into that group. Okay, cool. There we go. All right. So companion for the win again, I guess. Hey, I got to run. Have fun. Tie the DSK to source switches. interesting. Let me go back here to this guy. No, I got too many computers open. I'm going to just close this one because I don't need to look at that one right now. I'm going to go to this one, which is my studio, and just make sure that this is the constellation. We're just going to switch connections over to the ATEM or to the ISO. Yeah, we're good here. Okay. I can close that now. And I'm going to minimize that because I don't have anything else I want there. Minimize, minimize. Okay. And all right, now back to have a good day. I guess good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by, as always. Okay, so now we're going to jump over back to this guy who's doing the automation. And I'm just curious. We're doing the pants down automation here. I'm just curious if we add a trigger and we say the trigger being ProPresenter API, or the condition being, I'm wondering if it works on this side of companion but not on the other ones. Okay, we can also add timer state. So let's turn this one off for the time being. Specify, oh shoot, I just closed all that crap. Here we go. Specify, not macros, not prop ID, just props. There we go. Do I still have the props enabled in here? Props, lip, lower third, off ATEM. So prop ID, auto clear ATEM, this one right here, yoink. And if it's not that one, okay, let's go here. Specify, paste. What? Specify. Prop is active. Then ATEM downstream key, which I just did. Right? What? Wait, what was that one? Downstream key set on air. So downstream key set on air ATEM downstream set off. Okay. So this is no prop lower thirds off. Saving. Now we need to go to this computer and I need to open this. And then I also need to do this computer like this. So if the prop, if we fire this, does lower thirds, oh man, and then we need to do this and this. So lower thirds is on. If the prop fires, whoops, let's clear all. All right, if the prop fires, dang it, I didn't do it. Do I need to save this for some reason? Oh, I may need the actual ID. I had that here, but it didn't copy. Copy. Paste? Ah, shoot. Let me put it in a notepad here. Okay. Paste. What the? Oh, crap. Ah, jeez. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's copy this, I guess. We'll have to run it on this side. Oh, boy. It may just be easier to, like, email it to myself. Or type it out. One way or the other. If I could make it a little bigger, that would be good. But okay, so let's try. Well, let's see if I can get this to work still, because that would be ideal. All right. Okay. Can we like copy that? There we go. It did it. It did it. I clicked it. The test. It tested the action. Oh, dang it. Don't go crazy now. All right. So now let's see if the where is that screen? This one. So now the question is, if this prop fires. Ah. Dang it. That's not it, evidently. Prop ID 7. Nope. I know the action works. It's the condition. It's whatever that is. So let's turn on this one. Pre-show countdown. Let's change this to let's add one here. Right? I shouldn't have deleted it. And let's just say prop timer. We're going to run for 5 seconds. It's a countdown timer. And we're going to tie that to this macro. Add actions. Timers. Prop timer. Start prop timer. Okay, so now the question may be this. If the prop timer is running, go back to triggers, prop timer, this one. All right, I've got to probably power cycle this connection. Pro Presenter API, yoink, yoink. Now triggers. Come on. Now prop timers. Now the prop timer. So if the prop timer is running, then turn off my on air. So if I go to my slides and I go to scripture, which is this is already there, and we click on it. Prop timer is running. It's 5 minutes. If the prop timer is running. Did I not engage this or something? Prop timer is running. What is the delay here? Okay, so this is definitely an API issue. 100%. Unless I have to invert it or something. And then click it again. No. So it is the condition. It's the trigger that's not working out of ProPresenter. Whether it's because the timer's running, I can confirm, and I can confirm that the trigger does turn off the action. It does do the action, so that's no issue. But it's the event, I guess, or the condition, I guess. So we go here, ProPresenter API, layer, slide props, condition. What's the condition? Why just props? That doesn't make no sense. So condition, ProPresenter API. Prop is active, screen. We've already tried that, and timer state. We've already tried that too. So the things that are the things that we can do right now. Yep, there's no trigger inside of ProPresenter that will. I was hoping that okay, maybe this API will let me pick a macro, like when this macro is used, then do this. But even the prop option would be fine. But evidently, we don't know what the variable is. So if I say this, and then it says prop ID, which is hilarious, because remember, prop ID, we go to variables, API, and then what's the prop ID? API timer, API timer, API timer. None of these are props. What about the phrase ID? Nothing. There's nothing in here. This is what it says the prop ID is. So it's definitely not work. I mean, it's definitely busted. There's no way around this. I can't imagine. Anyway, whatevs. I'll have to continue to scratch my head over this one, because I really need to be able to tell buttons or companion to turn off the on-air button. And I should be able to do it with a macro. I could likely do it with a MIDI. So when the macro, well, no, because ATEM would need to handle MIDI as well, I guess, right? So preferences, mapping. Yeah, there's nothing in here. General settings, maybe here. Media, audio, hyperdeck, sources. No, there's no automation piece in there. So macros. Create macros. Primary and secondary. Cut and auto fade. Click the plus button to create one. Oh. Interesting. Well, whatevs. I'm gonna have to work on it, because I just don't know anymore. I don't know what else to think. So, gotta go. Good luck. Take it easy. Thanks for coming along. It has been quite the long show. So, thank you for hanging out with me today. Really appreciate it. And we will see you guys again next week sometime. Hopefully, I'll have more answers. The garage is coming along. I didn't even get to show you guys that. I'll do that next week. We'll show you some progress. I got a roof on the garage, so I'm pretty happy about that. But we'll check in that next week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And, of course, we will see you all in the next one as we figure things out. Hopefully some of this is useful. Take it easy, everybody.